There are moments in life when reality fractures, when the ordinary becomes impossible, when three people, in three different places, experienced something that defied explanation, and none of them were ever the same again. What you're about to hear are their stories, documented, investigated, and still unexplained. Turn off your lights. Put on your headphones. Because some stories don't let you go. Story 1, The Hitchhiker on Route 46. Route 46 cuts through northern New Jersey like a scar. 47 miles of asphalt that winds through forgotten towns, dense forests, and stretches of road where streetlights die for miles at a time. Truckers avoid certain sections after dark. Locals don't pick up hitchhikers. And there's a reason for that. In March of 1998, a police report was filed in Parsippany Troy Hills. The officer who took the statement later requested a transfer to another precinct. He never spoke about the case again, but the report still exists. Buried in archives. Stamped with a case number that leads nowhere. The man who filed it was named Daniel Rothman. 42 years old. Insurance adjuster. Married, father of 2. No history of mental illness, no criminal record, no reason to fabricate what he claimed happened to him on the night of March 14th. But what he described shouldn't be possible. It was 11:47 p.m. when Daniel left a client dinner in Hackettstown. He'd had one beer, hours earlier. His blood alcohol test would later confirm he was completely sober. He took Route 46 East, a road he'd driven hundreds of times. The night was clear. Temperature in the low 40s. No fog, no rain, no weather conditions that would explain what happened next. His headlights cut through the darkness, illuminating the white dashed lines that disappeared under his hood in rhythmic succession. The radio played quietly, some late-night talk show he wasn't really listening to. Trees pressed close to both sides of the highway, their branches forming a canopy that blocked out the stars. That's when he saw her. Standing on the shoulder of the road, just beyond the guardrail. A young woman in a white dress. Her thumb out. The universal sign. Daniel's first thought was concern. It was nearly midnight, freezing, and she was alone on one of the loneliest stretches of Route 46. He'd taught his own daughter never to hitchhike, never to trust strangers, but he couldn't just leave someone out here. He slowed down. Pulled onto the shoulder about 30 feet ahead of where she stood. He checked his rearview mirror. She was walking toward the car. Daniel unlocked the passenger door. The interior light came on as she opened it, and for the first time, he got a clear look at her face. She was young, maybe 19 or 20. Pale skin. Dark hair that hung past her shoulders. And her dress, it looked vintage. Like something from the 1950s. Thin fabric, completely inappropriate for March in New Jersey. "Thank you," she said softly as she slid into the seat. Her voice was barely above a whisper. "Thank you so much." "Are you okay?" Daniel asked. "What are you doing out here?" She didn't answer right away. Just stared straight ahead through the windshield. Her hands were folded in her lap, and Daniel noticed she wasn't shivering. Despite the cold. Despite the thin dress. "I need to get to Montclair," she finally said. "Can you take me to Montclair?" It was about 25 minutes away. Daniel hesitated, but nodded. "Sure. Buckle up." She didn't reach for the seatbelt. He put the car in drive and merged back onto the highway. The radio had gone to static, pure white noise that hissed from the speakers. Daniel turned it off. The silence that followed felt heavier somehow. Oppressive. "So what were you doing out there?" he tried again. Making conversation. Trying to ease the strangeness of the situation. "I was waiting," she said. "Waiting for what?" "For someone to stop." Her voice was flat. Emotionless. Daniel glanced at her from the corner of his eye. She hadn't moved. Hadn't blinked. Just stared forward with an intensity that made his skin crawl. "Do you have family in Montclair?" he asked. "I used to." The temperature in the car seemed to drop. Daniel's breath came out in a visible mist. He reached for the heater, but it was already on full blast. The vents blew cold air. That's when he noticed something in the rearview mirror. The road behind them was empty. Completely dark. But there was something wrong with the darkness. It seemed to move. To pulse. Like something alive was following them just beyond the reach of his taillights. "How much further?" the woman asked. Daniel checked the GPS, about 15 minutes. "Good," she whispered. I've been waiting so long. The next thing Daniel remembered clearly was the smell. It hit him all at once, sweet and rotten, like flowers left too long in a vase. Like decay masked with perfume. He looked at the passenger seat. She was staring at him now. Directly at him. And her eyes, they were wrong. Too dark. Reflective, like an animal's eyes caught in headlights. "Pull over," she said. "We're almost there," Daniel replied, trying to keep his voice steady. His hands were shaking on the wheel. "Pull over now." He didn't want to. Every instinct screamed at him to keep driving, to get to a populated area, to get away from her. But his foot moved to the brake as if controlled by someone else. The car slowed. Pulled onto the shoulder. She turned to face him fully. The interior light had somehow turned on again, and in its glow, Daniel saw that her skin wasn't just pale, it was gray. Waxy. And there were dark patches on her neck. Bruises? No. Something worse. "Do you know what day it is?" she asked. It's March 14th, Daniel stammered. She smiled. Her teeth were stained. "March 14th. That's right. Do you know what happened on March 14th, 1957? Daniel couldn't speak. Couldn't move. "That's when I died," she whispered. "Right here. On this road. My boyfriend was driving too fast. We hit a tree. I was thrown through the windshield. They didn't find my body for 3 days." The smell was overwhelming now. Daniel's eyes watered. He reached for the door handle, but it wouldn't open. Locked. He didn't remember locking it. "Every year, on this night, I wait," she continued. "Someone always stops. Someone always picks me up. And every year, I get a little closer to where I'm going. A little closer to home." She reached out and touched his hand. Her fingers were ice cold. Rigid. "Thank you for stopping, Daniel." He never told her his name. The last thing Daniel remembered before blacking out was her leaning close to him, her face inches from his, her breath, if you could call it breath, washing over him in cold waves. She whispered something in a language he didn't recognize. Words that hurt to hear. That made his head feel like it was splitting open. Then, nothing. He woke up at 6:23 a.m. His car was parked at a rest stop 15 miles past Montclair. The passenger seat was empty. The door was open. And there, on the fabric of the seat, was a dark stain. Shaped like a human silhouette. When the police later tested it, they found it was organic matter. Decomposed tissue. Decades old. But that wasn't the worst part. On the dashboard, written in the condensation on the inside of the windshield, were 4 words. "See you next year." Daniel Rothman never drove Route 46 again. He sold his car the following week. Moved his family to Pennsylvania within a month. And every March 14th, he locks himself in his house and doesn't come out until sunrise. Because he knows she's still out there. Still waiting. And she remembers him. Story 2, the apartment on floor 13. In downtown Chicago, there's an apartment building on North State Street that doesn't advertise vacancies. Built in 1962, the 20-story structure has housed thousands of residents over the decades. Families. Young professionals. Retirees. All of them living normal lives. Except for the people who lived in apartment 1313. The building officially doesn't have a 13th floor. The elevator buttons jump from 12 to 14, a common superstition in older buildings. But there is a 13th floor. The elevator just doesn't stop there anymore. Not since 2003. Not since what happened to Sarah Chen. Sarah was a graduate student at Northwestern. 26 years old. Studying architecture. She'd moved into the building in September of 2003, and specifically requested apartment 1313. She thought the number was interesting. A conversation starter. Her friends warned her about the superstition, but Sarah didn't believe in that stuff. She should have. The first week was normal. Sarah unpacked, set up her furniture, met a few neighbors. The apartment was small, a studio with exposed brick walls, tall windows that overlooked the street, and old hardwood floors that creaked when you walked on them. It had character. She liked it. But on the 8th night, she heard the knocking. 3 knocks. Slow. Deliberate. Coming from the wall beside her bed. Sarah assumed it was a neighbor. Maybe someone checking to see if she was home. She ignored it. The knocking stopped. The next night, it happened again. Same wall. Same rhythm. 3 knocks. But this time, it was 3:13 a.m. Sarah checked the time on her phone when it woke her up. She got out of bed, pressed her ear to the wall, and listened. Silence. Then, from the other side of the wall, she heard breathing. Deep, ragged, like someone struggling to draw air into damaged lungs. "Hello?" Sarah called out. The breathing stopped. She checked the building directory the next morning. Apartment 1312, the unit next to hers, was vacant. Had been vacant for months. The knocking became a nightly occurrence. Always at 3:13 a.m. Always 3 knocks. And each night, it seemed to move. One night from the wall. The next from the ceiling. Then from under the floorboards. Sarah complained to the building manager. He looked uncomfortable when she mentioned her apartment number, but he sent a maintenance worker to check for pipes, structural issues, anything that might explain the sounds. They found nothing. "Maybe you're just hearing things," the manager suggested. "Old buildings settle. Pipes expand and contract. It's normal." But Sarah knew what she heard. And it was getting worse. 2 weeks after she moved in, she woke up at 3:13 a.m. to find her apartment door wide open. The chain lock was still fastened. The deadbolt was still turned. But the door stood open as far as the chain would allow, about 4 inches, and through that gap, she could see the hallway outside. Someone was standing there. Just standing. Facing her door. Not moving. Sarah's heart hammered in her chest. She couldn't see the person clearly, just a dark silhouette backlit by the emergency exit sign at the end of the hall. They were tall. Too tall. Their head nearly touched the ceiling. "Who's there?" Sarah whispered. The figure tilted its head. Slowly. Unnaturally. Like a bird studying prey. Then it spoke. And its voice was wrong. Layered. Multiple voices speaking in unison. "You shouldn't be here." Sarah scrambled for her phone, hands shaking so badly she could barely dial 911. When she looked up again, the figure was gone. But the door was still open. And there, on her hardwood floor, leading from the door to her bed, were wet footprints. They weren't from shoes. They were bare feet. And the liquid wasn't water. It was black. The police found nothing. No signs of forced entry. No evidence anyone had been in her apartment. The footprints had dried and disappeared, leaving only faint stains on the wood. When Sarah showed them the stains, one of the officers, a veteran cop with 20 years on the force, went pale. "Miss Chen," he said quietly. "How long have you been living here?" 2 weeks. "Why?" He exchanged a glance with his partner. "I need you to be honest with me. Have you noticed anything else? Anything unusual?" Sarah told him everything. The knocking. The breathing. The figure in the hallway. The officer listened, and with each detail, his expression grew more grave. "There's something you should know," he finally said. "About this apartment." He told her that apartment 1313 had a history. 4 previous tenants. All of them left within a month. None of them would say why. But 3 years ago, a tenant named Marcus Webb lived here. 29 years old. Sound engineer. He'd complained about the same things, knocking, voices, seeing someone in his apartment. After 2 weeks, he called 911, screaming that someone was trying to break down his door. When police arrived, they found Marcus in the bathtub. He'd drowned himself. But here's the thing, the bathtub was only filled with 3 inches of water. The medical examiner ruled it a suicide, but couldn't explain how someone could drown in 3 inches of water. Couldn't explain the bruises on Marcus's shoulders, like someone had held him down. "You need to leave this apartment," the officer said. "Tonight." Sarah packed a bag and went to stay with a friend. The next day, she went back to the building with the intention of breaking her lease. But when she got to the 13th floor, the hallway was different. The walls were a different color. The carpet was different. And apartment 1313, the door was bricked over. Sealed. Like it had never existed. Sarah stood there, staring at the brick wall where her door should have been, her key still in her hand. She could hear something behind the bricks. Knocking. 3 slow knocks. Then her phone rang. Unknown number. She answered without thinking. "Hello?" Static. Then breathing. That same ragged, struggling breathing. And then that voice. Multiple voices. Angry now. "We told you. You shouldn't be here." The line went dead. Sarah ran, took the stairs down all 13 floors and burst out onto State Street. She never went back, never retrieved her belongings, never spoke to the building management again. But sometimes, late at night, she still gets calls, unknown numbers. And when she answers, all she hears is breathing and knocking. 3 slow knocks, coming from inside her phone. Story 3, the Forest Service recording. In October of 2011, a digital audio file was uploaded to a paranormal investigation forum. The file was labeled USFS_recording_092911.wave and came with a brief message. Found this on a Forest Service SD card at a yard sale. Previous owner wouldn't talk about it. Listen at your own risk. The recording was 17 minutes long. For the first 10 minutes, it was unremarkable, ambient forest sounds, footsteps on leaves, occasional radio chatter between rangers. But at the 11-minute mark, something changed. The recording captured something that has never been explained. Something that led to the permanent closure of a 40-square-mile section of the Shoshone National Forest in Wyoming. The Forest Service has never officially acknowledged the recording, but the area remains closed. And the 2 rangers who were there that night both resigned within a week. One of them disappeared 6 months later. The recording begins at 9:47 p.m. on September 29, 2011. 2 rangers, identified in the audio as Martinez and Holbrook, were conducting a routine patrol near the northern boundary of the forest. They'd received reports of unusual animal activity in the area. Elk behaving strangely, birds abandoning their nests. The kind of ecological disruption that sometimes precedes earthquakes or other natural events. But there had been no seismic activity, no fires, no explanation. For the first 10 minutes, the recording is mundane. Martinez and Holbrook discuss the reports, make jokes about their supervisor, complain about the cold. The temperature had dropped to 31 degrees. Their breath fogs on the audio as they speak. Then, at 11 hours 2 minutes and 33 seconds, Martinez stops walking. "Did you hear that?" he asks. "Hear what?" "I don't know. Like, singing." There's a pause. The sound of wind through pine trees. Then Holbrook confirms it. "Yeah, I hear it. Where's it coming from?" They begin moving off the trail, toward the source of the sound. Their footsteps become irregular, crunching through undergrowth. The singing gets louder. It's a woman's voice, high and clear. But the language, no one who has listened to the recording has been able to identify the language. "That's weird," Martinez says. His voice has changed. Uncertain now. "There's no one supposed to be out here. This area is closed to hikers. Maybe someone got lost?" They continue forward. The singing grows louder, closer. And that's when you can hear it clearly on the recording. It's not one voice. It's dozens, all singing the same melody in perfect unison. "Martinez, we need to call this in," Holbrook says. His voice is tight with fear. Yeah, okay." There's static as Martinez keys his radio. "Base, this is Ranger Martinez. We've got a situation at grid reference, His voice trails off. "Martinez?" Holbrook prompts. "The GPS is dead." "What? Let me see." More rustling. Then Holbrook swears. "Mine too. Both units?" "Both units." The singing continues. It's all around them now, surrounding them. But there's no one visible. You can hear them spinning, their boots scuffing on rocks and pine needles as they turn in circles, trying to locate the source. "Okay, this is wrong," Martinez says. "We're leaving. Back to the truck. Now." They run. You can hear their panicked breathing, branches whipping against their clothing, their boots pounding the earth. But the singing doesn't fade. It follows them, keeps pace with them. And it's changing. The melody is the same, but now there are words. Or something like words. Sounds that hurt to hear. That create a physical pressure in your ears when you listen to the recording. Then Martinez screams. Not in fear. In pain. A raw, primal sound of agony. "Martinez!" Holbrook shouts. "What's wrong?" "What's?" "My eyes," Martinez shrieks. "Oh God, my eyes, I can see them." "See what?" "What do you see?" "They're everywhere. They're in the trees. In the ground. There." The recording cuts out. Pure silence for exactly 13 seconds. When the audio resumes, everything has changed. The singing has stopped. The forest is completely silent. No wind. No insects. No birds. Nothing. And Holbrook is alone. "Martinez," he calls out. His voice echoes strangely, like he's in a large enclosed space instead of a forest. "Martinez, where are you?" No response. You can hear him moving. Slower now. Cautious. His breathing is rapid, shallow. Panicked. "This isn't real," he whispers to himself. "This isn't real. This isn't real." Then he sees something. You can't see it, this is just an audio recording, but you can hear the exact moment he sees it. He makes a sound. Not a scream. Something worse. A sound of absolute, soul-destroying horror. The sound a person makes when they see something that breaks them. He runs. Crashes through the forest. Falls. Gets up. Runs again. And behind him, following him, you can hear it. Footsteps. Hundreds of footsteps. Running in perfect synchronization. Getting closer. Holbrook is crying now. Begging. "Please. Please. I won't tell anyone. I won't say anything. Please just let me." The recording ends at 12 hours 17 minutes and 8 seconds. Exactly 75 minutes after it began. Ranger Holbrook was found 3 days later, 12 miles from where the recording was made. He was catatonic. Unresponsive. His eyes were open, but he couldn't see. Couldn't speak. Medical tests showed nothing physically wrong with him. He was hospitalized for 2 months. When he finally spoke, he only said 3 words. "They're still singing." Then he never spoke again. Ranger Martinez was never found. Search teams combed the area for weeks. Cadaver dogs. Helicopters. Volunteers. Nothing. He vanished completely. The only trace of him was his ranger badge, found hanging from a tree branch 40 feet off the ground. The Forest Service sealed the area. Officially, they cited geological instability. But the locals know better. They've known for generations that there are parts of the Shoshone Forest where you don't go. Where the old rules don't apply. Where something else lives. The recording has been analyzed by audio experts, linguists, and scientists. None of them can explain what was captured. The language in the singing doesn't match any known human language, living or dead. The footsteps at the end don't match any known animal. And the sound Martinez made, the sound of whatever he saw, has been removed from public versions of the recording. Those who have heard the unedited version say it's a sound that stays with you. That echoes in your mind when you're trying to fall asleep. That makes you wonder what could possibly cause a human being to make that noise. But perhaps the most disturbing detail is this. In 2019, a hiker uploaded a video to social media. He was camping near the Wyoming-Montana border, about 60 miles from the closed section of forest. In the video, filmed at night with a cell phone, you can hear something in the distance. Singing. Multiple voices. The same melody. The video was removed within hours. The hiker deleted his social media accounts. And when investigators tried to find him, they discovered he'd left the state. Left no forwarding address. And was never seen again. 3 stories. 3 people who encountered something that shouldn't exist. Something that doesn't follow the rules of our reality. Daniel Rothman still locks his doors every March 14th. Sarah Chin still gets phone calls with no one on the other end. And somewhere in the Shoshone National Forest, something is still singing. These stories are real. The documentation exists. The police reports, the medical records, the audio file, they're all out there, buried in archives and sealed folders and forgotten databases. But the question isn't whether these things happened. The question is, what if they're still happening? What if the hitchhiker is waiting on Route 46 right now? What if apartment 1313 is still sealed, but something is still inside? What if that singing in the forest never stopped? And what if you're next? If you made it this far, thank you for listening. These stories stay with me, and I hope they stay with you too, at least until you turn off the lights tonight. If you have your own true horror story, your own unexplained experience, leave it in the comments below. I read every single one. Subscribe if you want more deep dives into the darkest corners of reality. Hit the notification bell so you never miss a story. And remember, the scariest stories are the ones that really happened. Until next time, stay safe out there. Or don't. After all, some things find you whether you're ready or not.